All right, so it's 2 in the morning. Family's sleeping. I'm going to come out to the garage to make this recording because a lot has happened for me tonight. I feel like, again, it feels like it could be valuable information for somebody. So, there's 2 things I really want to discuss. There's several. And those are, number 1, the dangers of doing what I'm doing with psilocybin cannot be underestimated. Okay, I'm just setting that as topic 1. Number 2, the importance of setting your defense of the light before you do these things, especially at nighttime, is tremendously important. And I made a slip tonight, and I'll explain that. Number 3, I'm going to get into what to do when you're faced with the insidious nature of the destructive element on this planet. And number 4 is a totally different topic. Actually, it's going to be 2 parts. One, I'm going to make a separate video on just for the scientists and spiritual people I'm seeing on YouTube discussing psilocybin. And these are people in institutions that I want to say something to them because they will never understand what they're doing using the education that they paid for. They will never understand going down that road. And there's 2 parts of that. That's also true for every individual on this planet. That so I guess we'll start here. In order to move forward in life, you must literally empty yourself of everything you thought you knew. If your cup is already full, it cannot be filled. And you want your cup to be filled by the divine truth and understanding. And you need to empty yourself of everything you thought you knew about life. And if you can do that, you will be filled. That is the requirement life has for us. It is a necessity to empty yourself in order to be filled with truth. Have you ever heard that statement? The more you know, the less you know. That was said by somebody who knows exactly what they're talking about. And that is exactly what I'm conveying to you right now. All your so-called worldly knowledge is your obstacle that must be cut through in life if you want to know the truth, if you want to be the truth. So everybody that went forward into higher education has a very much harder time to be set free in this life. That's just the honest truth. You have more work cut out for you because you have been indoctrinated. And none of it is from the divine. Divine knowledge is completely absent from institutions of higher learning. It would be an absolute miracle if there's even a fraction in there. It'd be truly a miracle indeed. So I'm just laying this out there so you understand the absolute truth of this. I hope you believe me. The more you know, the less you know. So if you can empty yourself, you will be filled. It's amazing to me that I've forgotten this for so long, because this was a revelation to me when I was sitting with my teacher in Mexico. I was taught this back then on the inner. And this is what I keep saying. It's just amazing how much I've forgotten over the last 20 some years. But it's coming back now. I mean, I guess I forgot it because I didn't need it anymore, right? For my own self. But now that I'm trying to share this knowledge and wisdom, my personal wisdom with others, it's coming back. And I'm grateful for that. And I hope everyone can receive it with gratitude if you've never heard this before. This may be your first time hearing something like this. So, I'm trying to think if I need to expand on it any further, but I think you get my point. I'm sure I'll say something else about this down the road. All right, so I'm going to explain something for anybody who's watching my videos. You have to understand that I'm taking high doses of psilocybin almost on a daily basis. Not extremely high, but high doses. Sometimes in the day, sometimes at night. Tonight was in the nighttime. And so what happened tonight, and I'm going to share this because it's a very valuable lesson. And it coincides, or it goes hand in hand with so much I've been saying in my other videos about the pressure of the destructive force as you move forward in the light becomes absolutely immense. And if you let your guard down, it will try to come in and rip you apart. When you move forward in the light, you are an extreme threat to the destructive forces on this planet. Now, anybody who's an I Am student, will understand what I'm saying, because this is what Saint Germain and all the Ascended Masters have been teaching. And this is the only place you will ever hear anything about this. That's why this instruction is so important. Because the energy that mankind have used through the countless millennia on this planet is an insidious force that impregnates a certain atmosphere level of this planet. And Jesus did a tremendous service, and so have many other Ascended Masters, of removing that. Actually, it cannot be done by Ascended Masters directly unless we ask them to. But people in embodiment, like Jesus did, that was a purpose of his embodiment to a large degree, was to come and cleanse the entire planet of a certain portion of that, so that all of us could benefit from less pressure and have an easier time of obtaining our freedom. So I'm going to share with you tonight is my personal experience of what happened when I did not have my guard up properly. Because anything you do with psilocybin is intensified dramatically. And that is why anybody who listens to my stuff and is trying to move forward in the light in the manner I am, or let's just say, I do not recommend this to anybody. I've been on this path a very long time, and therefore I have my knowledge of the light is enough to keep me protected. But it may not be so for everybody, especially novices. But psilocybin will intensify your activities in the light, but it will also intensify your errors you make. And you have to be on guard. And you have to understand, there is no instruction manual for what I am doing and writing and making these videos on with psilocybin. There is no instruction manual. It is dangerous. And I want to share with you what happened tonight to explain that danger. Because I was in the process of leaving my body tonight. And I didn't have my guard up all the way. Before I did so, I got lazy. And I had to turn right back around and come back into my body and deal with this, because what happened was my guard on my solar plexus was down. And that is your doorway into your life. Your solar plexus, if you are not on guard and slightly tensioning your abdominal muscles to stay on guard, the destructive forces in the other world can come in and rip you apart. And it's not very intense. I mean, most of the people on this planet who are completely asleep are not on guard. They have no idea what any of this even means. And the destructive forces leech on them like a vampire their entire existence. And they have no idea that all the screwed up ideas that get into their mind and their feelings that keep them in a completely dysfunctional state throughout their existence is because the destructive forces are just leeching off them like a vampire. This is very real stuff. The Ascended Masters were not joking when they explained this in their instruction. They did so for those that are ready to wake up, can take the guard required. It is extremely important information. So what happened to me tonight, it was like a tidal wave of insanity tried to strike my mind because my guard was down. I had to turn right back around and come back into my body and deal with it. And this wasn't my first rodeo, so I recognized it. But for somebody who is a novice in this activity, who is a novice in their use of psilocybin, who is a novice in their understanding of the light, something like this can rip your mind apart. It will strike you with a paranoia, and you will not know what side is up. And this is a psychosis that could strike people who are not on guard and ready. And it is immensely more severe for somebody like myself, who is calling forth a tremendous amount of light in these instances. Because it is like a beacon to the destructive force that hits you with everything it's got. It wants to bring you down. You're like a giant food source for it. That's the way it is. It sees you like a food source. Now I realize for anybody who's never moved forward with Ascended Master instruction on this stuff, this is going to sound completely absurd. But I pity anybody who does not discover Ascended Master instruction to help set themselves free. So I share this as a warning to anybody who maybe, inspired by what I'm doing and making these videos on, you have to be careful. There is no guidebook for this. There is no one out there that can help you. This is unknown territory to civilization right now of using psychedelics in this manner. Now, many of you have had the call to do this, such as I have. Some of, I know 5 of you who are aware of Ascended Master instruction, who are also using psilocybin. So I'm making this recording especially for you, but for others who may ever discover this material, okay, this is no joke. Your mind and your life is on the line when you're messing around with psilocybin and the light. All right, so the next part I want to say is, if this happens to you, if you feel the psychosis try to strike and the paranoia try to strike you, if your guard was down and these things get across, call for help instantly. I'm not talking about outer world help. You call Ascended Masters and they will come and help you. Because to get that beast out of your house, once you let it in, it is not an easy job. And like I said, you are already compromised at that point. Your mind and your feeling is compromised. It's one thing to deal with it when you're at full strength, but when you're compromised, it's an entirely another issue. So just call for help. It will come. It did for me. It took about 30 minutes, but you will feel such tremendous relief. And I think that will prevent you from ever losing your guard again, as it will for me. I mean, I never lose my guard during the day. Ever. But nighttime's a different story, because you're already laying the body down. And it's so easy to slip out of the body. If you haven't established that protection beforehand, God help you. So did I cover all my points? So one last thing I'm going to say is, what I'm doing and conveying in this is almost literally like writing a guidebook, because there's nobody else on this planet that I'm aware of who has ever discussed this in this manner and using it in this manner. It is unknown territory. It is a new frontier. And it's very interesting to me to find others who have already discovered the Ascended Master instruction and also feel compelled to use psilocybin out there. I wouldn't have guessed there are so many of you already. So something interesting is going on. But I hope you all will heed my words. I'm almost certain nobody is using psilocybin with the intensity that I am. For many, that could be considered quite reckless. But I do so very consciously. And I have a lot of experience in the light, in dealing with it, in finding my way through very tough positions. Like I said, this is not my first rodeo of being faced with the intensity of the destructive forces. So all my other videos where I was talking about the pressure and the devotion required to push forward into greater and greater levels of understanding, I hope by sharing this with you tonight, you will understand just how real that is. As you push forward, the forces will array against you to try to stop you. Because all the destructive energy mankind has misused stays in the atmosphere of the planet until we clean it up. That's partly why the Ascended Masters brought forth all this instruction, so we could call for the cleaning up of this. But it is still an immense amount out there, and is being created, more of it's being created daily by ignorant humanity. They are absolute children that have no idea what they're doing with their thoughts, feelings, and spoken word. They are utterly asleep. And they have no idea that their thoughts and feelings and spoken word are going out and creating destructive energy all the time. So please heed my words and understand how much you have to be on guard, understand about the light. If you're going to be using psilocybin in an intense manner like I am, especially at nighttime. It's a whole other thing to use it at night versus the day. It's very easy to be on guard during the day. You're just already awake. It's just natural. But at nighttime, when you can slip out of the body so easily, you really got to set your guard. So I hope my experience tonight proves valuable for somebody, for everyone. Because that psychosis and that paranoia can strike and overwhelm you in an instant. But if you just breathe calmly and take a moment to recognize what's happening, make the calls for help, you will get through it and come out the other side a little bit stronger and a little bit wiser. All right, I'm going to pause this one now, or stop this one and make another recording, because I really want to, I want to rip into the scientific realm a little bit, because I think they need a slap in the face.